This time is different. This time is different because of so many different factors. And yes, I know you've probably heard this millions of times before, but the market is very much ready for a big surge towards the upside. And what this means for the likes of XLM, Hbar, Cardano, and other large cap coins is going to be absolutely explosive. So do me a favor, hit that like button. I'm going to explain exactly what is going on in this crypto video. So guys, last few weeks has been very exciting. Obviously, we saw the SEC drama pushing down the crypto markets. We then get a nice olive branch handed to us, the BlackRock ETF. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with $9 trillion of assets under management, which is 3 times larger than the entire cryptocurrency market was at the top of the last bull market. BlackRock are here and they're going to be here to stay, in my opinion. Now, that BlackRock ETF was rejected. And you're like, well, what's an ETF? An ETF is an exchange-traded fund for companies such as BlackRock and various others to interact with cryptocurrency. Is very sketchy. People don't really want to do it. People won't invest in their money through doing it because it needs to be regulated. How do you regulate it? Well, you create an ETF, or an exchange-traded fund, which is a fund that can be traded on the stock market but is linked to the price of the asset that it is surrounding, for example, Bitcoin. Now, what happened is BlackRock got rejected by the SEC for this, but they've come straight in for another track. Now, you know, when you're at school and you hand in your homework and it's not quite good enough, and you know when you're given a piece of work or something at the office and someone says, well, you need to go away and change these bits and pieces. Go away and change this. Go away and fix this. This is what I believe has just happened. BlackRock have now come back, literally a week or two later, Bitcoin ETF application refiled, naming a Coinbase as a surveillance sharing partner. Now, this is clearly something that was needed in the first place. But I want to draw your attention to something else that's extremely important about what will happen if this ETF gets approved. BlackRock, being the world's largest asset manager, I'm pretty confident will have a huge impact on how things within governments are done. Now, that means that it's very much out of the control then of other people. So we know that there are a number of coins under scrutiny right now from the SEC. Not only that, but there are another number of coins within that kind of top chunk of the market that saw a big push along with Bitcoin in January, but are now starting to struggle a bit, of which I'm going to talk about them in this video. Now, if you are subscribed to my channel, which you absolutely should be, yesterday you would have seen me talking about this, where we have the COVID crash followed by a pump and then the yellow blip here, push into the bull market. FTX crash, pump, yellow blip, and then push into the bull market. On the flip side of things, you have many people talking about the Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin halving is yet to come along. That's why I think this time is different, because this time is the first real time that we've seen a big institutional game player getting involved very early on in the bull market. And it doesn't necessarily make sense just because in the last 2 bull markets, the Bitcoin halving preceded to push into a bull market. As we get through the life cycle of Bitcoin, and as the halving results have less and less of an impact, theoretically, it stands to reason that that should have much less of an impact on being a catalyst that drives the bull market. As we get more money flowing into the space through the likes of BlackRock and a bunch of others, by the way, there's a number of other organizations such as Charles Schwab and others who have a combined assets under management of around $27 billion, which is 9 times bigger than the top of the bull market in crypto. This is where the game changes for cryptocurrency. This is why we can't rely on something we heard a long time ago from someone on YouTube telling us that we have to have a Bitcoin halving before anything happens. Therefore, we must preempt what might be about to happen. I also looked at this before. You can see that we after had these breakouts, we then got retests and 2-week buy signals, and then we pumped towards the upside. We've just had the same thing happen for us here. Down below, this comes in line with a MACD coming above 0 and a crossover of the blue line. Now, obviously, you could point out the one 2019 into 2020. This big dip here was obviously COVID-19. Now, whether or not we have another crisis like that causes a pullback, I actually think we could be in a bull market that looks a bit like this. We could be pulling up and perhaps have some sort of pullback before rallying higher. But if it wasn't for COVID-19, you would have anticipated this being the bottom here, and then you would have already seen your low. I think we've already seen our low, and I think we will be pushing higher before having a fairly reasonable pullback. But that fairly reasonable pullback could just see Bitcoin pulling back from 50k down to 30k. So right now, you've probably got the best chance you may ever have of buying into crypto markets because the price is really low. Now, I obviously want to point out, guys, that is not financial advice. I could always be wrong. We could be rolling over and we could see a bit of more doom and gloom. But I did say yesterday that we would likely see a pump further up higher. And I do think we are about to break beyond these highs, at least be pushing up another $1,000 or so. And there is actually a big old blank space in here where there's not a huge amount of volume in the past for trades. And I think that Bitcoin could well be pushing up in towards this zone. So why have I picked out those particular coins I mentioned earlier? Well, I talked about in yesterday's video, Algorand, why I like the look of Algorand right now. As we know, phenomenal technology is doing some amazing things. It's getting involved in India, it's getting involved in France. There's so much growth potential for Algorand, and yet it got labeled as a security by the SEC. Now, what I'm saying could potentially come into play if BlackRock get that ETF approved. Then BlackRock and a number of other firms may have a very big foothold in the system and start to put additional pressure on the SEC. We remember just a couple of months ago, the debt ceiling was pushed higher by the US. The US is in the pockets of many other organizations and many other people. It wouldn't surprise me if BlackRock have fairly substantial control of the US government because of being able to bail them out during debt crisis like we saw just now. Now, obviously that's highly speculative. But wouldn't you start to agree that there is probably more things going on than just the Bitcoin halving that someone's talking about on a YouTube channel? Now, let's play devil's advocate here and say that I'm wrong and say that the price dumps further. Well, if the price continues to dump further, then we could see further lows. But you would say, looking, for example, at this Algorand chart, that we would be fairly good value. I would say that the value down here is much better than the value up here. Would you agree with me? If you agree with me, then you'll understand why I'm buying the likes of Algorand down in this buy zone, because this green line was the previous low that we saw before. Let's look at others. I love the look of Hbar, because again, Hbar sat down here in this zone. We know that Hbar has phenomenal tech. So all I'm doing, and it's very simple, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, is identifying projects that have good potential into the future. One, they've established really key partnerships. For example, Hbar working with Boeing, working with EDF, tons and tons of other organizations. It's growing from strength to strength, but obviously it will need the flow of cash from the market to be able to push it. Algorand as well, starting to see a lot of growth in India, which I think is going to be the backbone of Web3 development in the future. That's obviously a big deal. Both are very, very cheap. Let's have a look at XLM. Now, XLM probably not quite so ideal right now. I was telling you to buy down in this zone down here. Well, I wasn't telling you to buy because obviously that would be financial advice. I was telling you that I was buying down in this zone down here. And since then, if you were subscribed to my channel, then you, like me, would be sat around 40% in gains. So make sure you subscribe, guys. There's a lot of you who are not subscribed and you might as well be subscribed. You can always unsubscribe tomorrow if you don't like it. So why am I focusing on these areas? Well, another one that I want to point out, Solana, okay? Solana, again, heavily situated as an underdog. Solana has one of the best respected teams in cryptocurrency going forward. And I don't mean respected by, the guys trying to write the odd comment about it on their YouTube channel or my YouTube channel. Don't really care. But it's one of the most respected projects by the likes of Vitalik. One of the most respected projects by tons of other old hats within the crypto organization that, really understand the value in these projects. Solana's got a load of development going on, and yet it's priced at like $18, when in the last bull market it saw $250. Theoretically, with the tech on these projects, nothing has changed. If anything, they've improved, they've been battle tested, and they're going forward. XLM excites me in a way because of XRP, and XRP being a bit of a roll of the dice situation, which appears to be becoming slightly less of a roll of the dice situation going forward. All very exciting. Who knows exactly what's going to happen? But I know that the upside potential in all of these projects is phenomenal. You've only got to look at the charts, guys. Am I buying now? Should I be buying now? Just look at a Solana chart. If you are interested in buying Solana, should you be buying now? Well, the price could go lower. What could it go to? Well, it got to around $7 or $8 before. Can it go to $8 again? Well, absolutely. But, the chances of it going down to $8 means I'm running the risk of a 62% downside. But as long as Solana doesn't go to zero, I don't really have a huge amount to risk here. I'm risking 60%. So if I put in $100, I could potentially at some point be looking at $40 in my pocket. But that's only if I sell. If I hold and it comes back up to here, then I make 11x. I get $1,100 when I could have just been looking at a $60 risk for a little bit, or $60 downside. Does that make sense? Should be very straightforward, guys. Crypto is not a complex thing right now. Can it go lower? Of course. Will it go lower? I don't know. Will it go higher? I don't know. No one knows right now. Well, I do know that it's going to go higher. That's one thing I do know, sure. And, you know, the only thing that anyone can tell you, truthfully, is that they're not sure where it's going to go. I personally believe we have seen the lows, and we won't be seeing sub 20k for Bitcoin again. I don't even think we're going to be seeing sub 25k for Bitcoin again. And right now, you got altcoins at massive discount. Choose the ones that you're interested in, get a bag of 5 to 10 of them, buy and hold, try and earn some more money, put some more money into them. You don't really need to go too far away from those top cryptos right now, because if you followed me before, I'll tell you that we are more than likely going to see a flow from Bitcoin gains into like Ethereum, into the large caps, which got like Solana, Cardano, Algorand, you know, these other larger cap coins within the sort of top 50, top 60. And then from there, you'll get your altcoin season. But you don't get altcoin season until later in the day, guys. And if you want to be able to establish a buy and sell zones like a pro, then you need to get into the Discord, link down below in the description. Just $9.99. Myself and a number of other professional traders are working in there, sharing their knowledge on a daily basis, so you won't miss out on any of the moves. For the price of $9.99, which is like 3 cups of coffee, you get a 5-day free trial as well, guys. Absolute no-brainer. Jump into that link down below. We also have a lot of exciting things happening later in the week for that, so do not miss out on those. Hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. See you in the next video.